Hi, I'm Joe McDonough, and this is my brother Jack McDonough. And it's Monday, so we're going to answer some questions. First of all, thanks everybody for sending in questions. The first question we got was, do we think a cemetery in Lowell will open a crematory because cremation is more and more popular? So last year for us, cremation was about 62%. So it is very, very popular. Um, Last time I talked to all the local cemeteries, nobody had anything planned. Um, Lowell Cemetery recently did some renovations, and they have some a new office over there, and they're adding a new section, but there's no plans for a crematory. St. Joseph Cemetery in Chelmsford, they just put in a new chapel a couple of years ago, and it's beautiful, but there's no plans for a crematory in there either. I don't think there's any plans for a local crematory, and there is a lot of regulations in Massachusetts regarding crematories, and a crematory has to be on cemetery ground and cannot be affiliated with a funeral home. So we can't just open up our own, which would be nice if we could.
If we could, we would. That's for
Yep.
sure.
You want to take the next one?
Sure. So the next question is one that I think a lot of folks are afraid to ask. And what that question is, what happens to the money that you've pre-planned a funeral for if we went out of business? So as you understand, I'm sure people prepay for their funeral. So they come in, they give us some money for the funeral, we put it in a funeral trust. And the question is, what happens if we ever went out of business? God forbid. No plans to go out of business. Obviously, we've been in business a very, very long time. But yeah, okay. So what would happen if we went out of business? You would get a letter, hypothetically, if you had money set aside for a funeral, you'd get a letter that says, we are going out of business. We have this much of your money. What would you like to do with it? And it will give you an option of basically getting all your money back or planning with a different funeral home. So it's pretty easy if that were to ever happen, what would happen with the money. But long story short, it's always your money. It's not going anywhere, federally insured. All the money is held in individual accounts. It's not just like all the money gets put into one account. There are lots of rules and regulations about this. So your money is always safe, and it's held in a funeral trust, in its own funeral trust. And yeah, that's basically the answer to that.
So no matter what, if the funeral home burns down or you move away, the money can be moved, and the money is safe and federally insured.
Yeah, and another thing too, just to add on that, if you were to move in from out of state, the money can be transferred from funeral home to funeral home. So if you had arrangements at another state and you just moved to the area, it's easily transferable from one funeral home to another. So yeah, one other question?
Yeah. The last question was, who should plan a funeral? So if you're pre-planning, it should be you planning for yourself, or if you have power of attorney for that person, you could plan for them. But you can't just plan a funeral for one of your parents unless they're there to sign some paperwork, or they can sign some paperwork, or you have power of attorney to make those sort of decisions for them. We can certainly talk about a funeral and write things down, but when it comes to opening up a bank account, we need that person's authorizations from the person whose money it is and who the funeral is, or their power of attorney. And if we're talking about planning a funeral for somebody that has passed away, it should generally be the family. If it's a more complicated situation, it could fall upon their legal next of kin, which is probably a family member. In Massachusetts, it goes spouse, then children, then parents, and then siblings. But generally, the family kind of makes decisions together based on what the person wanted and how they know the person.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it is. Long story short, again, not to reuse that phrase, but anyone can plan a funeral. If your loved one isn't related to you biologically or by marriage, but you're that person's person, of course you can plan a funeral for them. There are a little more hoops we need to jump through, but we're used to that and we do it all the time.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
So I think that's pretty much it. And yeah, thank you everybody for the questions. They're great.
Yeah.
We'd love to answer
Yeah.
them. I know these are a little more technical, not as interesting for some people, but
Ask away, though.
any questions you have, please feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. So thank you very much for watching.